because everything's in extremes now. The middle ground is sort of gone. It's either one way or the other. It creates chaos. And because people now have a voice, what happens is online, if you say something, one comment negative feels like three feels like 9, et cetera, right? And so 300s, 3,000, and it blows out of proportion. And brands are so panicked because everybody has instant access. Whereas before, you just call up and you get through the switchboard, you couldn't really complain. If you're a real nose, you'd write a letter. Now you can connect to that company visibly in front of everybody and say, how dare you work with James Haskell? He's a prick. And other people joining, yeah, he's a prick, and then they'll copy articles. Because it's all digital, it sits there, and suddenly it's like people are storming your shop. So brands just don't want the drama, so they just want to be seen to be doing, all things to all men. So they're in panic.
Man, welcome to the show.
How you doing? You right?
Very good, thank you. So, man, we're talking today, very exciting. You've just released your new book, Approach Without Caution. And I just want to give our audience a little taster. There's a quote from the book that I have to share. I heard it when I was driving. And I think that this will just set the tone, because this book is incredibly funny. It's very well researched. And it took me places I didn't think I'd go, but here's the quote. Chloe, my wife, thinks that only perverts would sleep with a sex robot. I just think that she knows that her days are numbered, especially if the Japanese can get their acts together and release the Shagbot 3000. So, man, what motivated you to write the book?
So, I mean, firstly, everyone always says that, the sex dolls are, no, it would never do that. I mean, someone that's really fit, really lifelike, could knock it in and put it in the cupboard and not have any drama. So I think before you cast judgment, just wait and see where technology goes. No, I think the book, so I've written a few books now. The last two were kind of autobiographical, but also very honest about my journey, about my experience in my sort of life and how I dealt with ups and downs, my approach to performance, my approach to how to enjoy your life and sort of be able to do a couple of things at once, and the importance of life balance. And I think a lot of the feedback I got from the book, the people on social media, was they love the books, but actually what they really loved was the mentality around how I dealt with these things and how my approach to cancel culture and the scrapes I got myself into. So I thought, there's an idea for a book there. I didn't want it to be a self-help book, inverted commas, because I don't really think they work. I think I just wanted to go, look, I played around the world. I've worked with loads of different coaches, loads of different performance people, loads of different psychologists, hypnotherapists. I've worked with some top people in business, and I've learned a lot of lessons, and I've seen what environments work and what environments don't work. And I thought I wanted to share that, because I hear a lot of people complaining and making excuses for why they can't do anything anymore, and how it's everybody else's fault, and how they wish, they could sort things out. And I see people flitting from one fad to another. And I was like, look, someone needs to sort of cut through the shit here and say, look, this is how to do it. This is what you want to do. It's going to be hard. It's going to be painful. It's going to be dull. It's going to be boring. You have to do it every day. And you know what? Sometimes it's going to fail, but ultimately, you if you stick with it, you'll be successful.
Yeah, I love that. And obviously for a show like this, I read, by nature of the people into a lot of books. And I can tell you, it's unlike any book in this genre I've read before. And there's certainly a lot of signal in there. A couple of themes that perhaps jumped out to me. You mentioned cancel culture there. In the book, you seem to be an advocate for this kind of rational debate, where kind of these inflamed emotions have taken over. But I just have to ask you, in writing the book, were you afraid yourself of perhaps being cancelled or offending people? Because you say that you were on your fifth life, I think, at the start.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, I think I'm always, I think it'd be naive to say that I'm not concerned, because, ultimately I suckle at the corporate teat. I make money by selling books and having a media presence. And getting cancelled, look, you can deal with it two ways. I mean, it depends what you are. If you do something terrible, then you deserve to be cancelled within reason. But that's you'd have to do some pretty extreme stuff. I think writing something somebody doesn't like, or calling someone a prick, whatever, or getting caught for something you did ages ago, and then, sort of being able to say, look, I've learned from that. This is what happened in the past. And that's a big message in the book. You can't forget what happened in the past, but it's the past for a reason. So we learn from it. We don't go back and try and eradicate it and change it. You can't go and erase colonialism. You can't go and erase things that have happened. What you can do is go, wow, that was awful. We don't do that now. And actually we've learned to do it. But now we try to hang people from the past who are already dead and already been made accountable or already failed. And I think for me, that was quite difficult. So look, I'm always concerned because I like making money. And ultimately, the way I do that is in the media. A lot of times they give a fuck, because you can sort of do, as I said, two ways. You can be Piers Morgan and double down and build a whole network around shouting these people down, and you become by your very nature untouchable within reason because you are fighting them. Or you try to toe this party line where you're all things to all men and women at the same time. You're very vanilla. You don't really have an opinion. You're panicked. You're perpetually apologizing. And I think if you have to stand about counterculture, you can say sorry to blue in the face. Some people won't accept it. Some people won't. And I think if you understand it's common sense, then you should stick to your guns. And 99% of what I said in that book, I genuinely believe is common sense. And I believe that people are sometimes too scared to say it. And we're now trying to accommodate everybody. And it's like, no, if I'll give you an example. If I cook dinner and you turn up and you go, I'm a vegan, and I'm like, you fucking should have told me. It's not my problem. Like, I'm not going to cook you. Like, it's your, if it's your thing, I'm not here to accommodate. I'm not going to cook a vegan meal just because you asked one. I'm not gonna, I would always accommodate. If you told me, I would do it. There'd be no drama. I wouldn't go, oh God. I just think lots of times we now have to go at the pace of the slowest man, and life does not work like that in any way, shape, or form. Because I can post about coffee, and someone will go, well, I like tea. Well, I like herbal tea. Or coffee farming, is not great for the farmers and the environment. You're like, oh, for fuck's sake! All I said is I wanted a cup of tea, so a cup of coffee. And so for me, I'm not interested really. So I thought with the book, I'm going to have an opinion. I'm going to try to back it up with fact. I may get a few people upset, but actually I want that. I want debate. I want people to have an opinion,
Right. And this is what you say in the book. You say healthy debate has turned into all-out war, but that's not what makes democracy great. There's a huge degree. Oh, please.
So sorry, we really quite. No, carry on.
Oh, yeah, you say there's a huge degree of arrogance shown by anyone who thinks that their opinion should no longer be counted. So your point there is, we really no longer tolerate the difference of opinion.
I think we're scared to feel the feeling of being offended or uncomfortable when it's just a feeling. It happens to you. So your listener to the podcast might not like me. They might go, oh, he's offensive. But, it's not I'm not offensive. You find me offensive. It's down to your emotional interpretation. And I think we're trying to teach people to be, not having to deal with emotions, sort of, getting people to shy away from feeling uncomfortable, from feeling I don't want to feel, I don't like this, and I don't know how to compute it, or that thing's wrong. It's like there's plenty of things wrong. I think the thing about the healthy debate is social media is not the platform to do that, and that's where a lot of debate is now happening, because it's brought the world together and connected people in a way that I don't think is beneficial. I think it's tried to create a platform where we're all level, and we're absolutely not, and life is not level. We're born from different places, different parents, different cultures, different backgrounds, and context is key. And everything at the moment, context is lost. So, how am I, so if I come in and talk about a subject, I don't know what it might be about, but my social upbringing can be completely different from yours. We don't know each other. We're meeting on a commentary around politics, for example. We're never going to agree. So, what's the point? And the idea is we should agree, but we absolutely shouldn't. And I think context is lost across the board. And, I just think because of that, because no one has any context and everyone is emotional, and everyone thinks that their shit doesn't stink, and they think their story and their journey is far more important. And they don't, and a lot of people don't realize that they're maybe not as talented as they thought they were, or not as intelligent as they thought they were, or that actually what's happened to them is not the usual. It just creates this cauldron of animosity. Everything always ends up with someone losing a job, or hate mail, or death threats. And so I just don't comment anymore. Like I equated in the book to, a blue bottle buzzing at a window. It makes a fuck ton of noise, doesn't get anywhere, and ultimately dies. And it's never going to break through the glass. So, if I have a difference of opinion, and and it's not going to actually make any profound difference, don't share it. Like, you and I disagreeing about something online is going to make no difference ultimately. I don't think so. What would be better is, if you don't like something, go out and make focus on yourself and how can you actually physically make a difference, and what is it you can do that you control that will make a difference. Because shouting about it more often than not, doesn't make a difference unless it's a massive collective. But even these prats gluing themselves to the motorways and fucking standing in the way, if they actually all individually looked after themselves better, were better in society, actually helped more, set a precedent in terms of the way they recycled or they didn't use oil or whatever it would be, and they got a collective to do it in a way, it would benefit society way better than these outlandish things that achieve nothing. It polarizes the people that were sitting on the fence. The ones who hated you are all going to hate you even more, and the ones and I think very rarely encourages people to join.
I totally agree. I think one of the problems, kind of what you alluded to, is that, as you said, the people that are going to museums and throwing soup on paintings or gluing themselves to the road, is that now brands, companies, they actually listen to these people. They actually take heed of what these people are saying. And if you speak out against it, it's really only left now to the self-employed to actually speak up about them. So do you see this problem as actually getting worse as opposed to better?
Yes, it's way worse. So I'll give you a couple of examples. So, back in the day, everyone had opinion and mad people were always mad. And the world, I think the world has got worse, and I think it's getting worse because, people's fetishes, addictions, everything's so much more readily available now, right? And the kind of the 24-hour news and the digestible content and kind of social media is exacerbated a lot of problems with things. I think eating disorders, mental health, suicide, everything is sort of on the up. And I think around back in the day, people used to just row at each other in pubs or complain to their parents. Now they're able to get online and share an opinion, and now that people have a voice. And we're taught that everybody deserves an opinion, everyone deserves a voice, and it's like, actually, what? Yes, you can have an opinion, but you shouldn't always be able to share it, because what's your basis for it? And if we put the context argument in place, and you aren't able to control your emotions, and you are a bit extreme, because everything's in extremes now, the middle ground is sort of gone. It's either one way or the other. It creates chaos, and because people now have a voice, what happens is online, if you say something, one comment negative feels like three feels like 9, etc., right? And so 300s, 3,000, and it blows out of proportion. And brands are so panicked because everybody has instant access, whereas before you just call up and you get through the switchboard, you couldn't really complain. If you're a real nose, you'd write a letter. Now you can connect to that company visibly in front of everybody and say, how dare you work with James Haskell? He's a prick. And other people joining, yeah, he's a prick. And then they'll copy articles, because it's all digital. It sits there, and suddenly it's like people are storming your shop. So brands just don't want the drama. So they just want to be seen to be doing, all things to all men. So they're in panic, and they go, right, well, we're going to stand James Haskell down pending a further investigation. We don't, don't associate with that. Now, if I sit down and say, well, look, I just called the bloke, whatever, because he assaulted me and said, he was going to come shoot me. What's the problem? Well, we don't want to work with you. But why don't you just tell us, we've looked into it, there's absolutely nothing here, and make a stand? Now, the problem is that because they don't make a stand and they don't really care about what's being said, they just want good PR. They allow the people online to suddenly have power, and people suddenly go, wow, if I complain loud enough and shout loud enough, then suddenly I will get people in trouble. And because these brands are so panicked about bad PR and don't want to be associated with it, they are just giving these people power. And then, but there's only one brand, to my mind, that I've seen that's actually stood up. So when Dave Chappelle did his Netflix documentary called The Closer, not comedy stand-up called The Closer, it was all about kind of about people's journey in life, transgender debate, race, and everything else. And it was a very clever sort of social commentary on these matters. And ultimately, this conclusion was that everyone's on their own journey. And, you know, just because you feel like you've been marginalized and hated, if you repeat that marginalized and aggressive behavior, you're not making the world any better. You're just doing what people have done to you to other people. And the cycle of hate continues. And if we were more accommodating, we were calmer and just let people be people and stopped getting so uptight about things, it would actually make a difference. Now, when it came out, the transgender people and lots of people went mad, got really offended, got very aggressive, stormed, and some employees from Netflix stormed the building and stormed a high-level business meeting, and they all got suspended, right? Everyone was like, oh my God, Netflix is, you know, transphobic, the transgender employees, you know, being fired, suspended. The Ted Sandros guy came out and said, look, you know, first of all, they've been suspended because they stormed a business meeting of top-level executives, which we absolutely don't fucking tolerate. And Netflix has a pretty harsh employment policy. You know, if you were good, if you're the best person in the job, you get the job. If they find someone better, they let you go.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that. And then they tell all the other staff why they let you go. So they have a real open communication. So he was very clear about that. And then he basically came out and said, no, we're not going to cancel Dave Chappelle. We're not going to take Ricky Gervais off. We're not going to cancel any of these people because we will always try to create content that's you know, caters for a wide range of tastes. There will always be something on Netflix that you will find offensive. The same way as if you walk into a library, there will be a copy of a book that you will find offensive. For example, most libraries have a copy of Mein Kampf, right? You know, I imagine that most people would find that fucking offensive. I imagine a lot of propaganda from over the years or difference of opinions would be offensive. But no one's burning libraries. Well, they did back, you know, in certain countries and dictatorships, they did. And if you start controlling what people can digest, you're not far off that kind of level of tyranny. So brands have got a real important thing to do, which is to fucking stop letting people on social media, you know, dictate. Stop worrying about a bit of negative feedback. Like, you know, if I get 100 positive comments and 10 of them are, or 100 comments and 10 of them are bad, who gives a shit? You don't want everyone to like you. You don't want everyone to like it. And do you know what? You want people to go, that guy's an arsehole, I just don't like him. But get on with your life. It's like surfing through a TV. Don't like a channel, just chuck and change it. Don't text the people or tweet the people in the show. Don't you know, message fucking Netflix. Just grow up and move on with your life, because you're not going to make any difference apart from you lose someone a job. And what kind of person are you that does that?
Right. And we're seeing it at the moment with Amazon Prime and Jeremy Clarkson. That is one which is ongoing.
I mean, look, you know, Jeremy Clarkson's a bit of a prick. Everyone knows it, you know. Look, he is, but you know, he is a kind of, well, the best way to say it, you know, he's kind of has always been like that. He's opinionated, outspoken, Middle England, you know, drinks, smokes, says everything. I read his books. You know, some stuff I love from Jeremy, some stuff I don't. He's, you know, he's an opinion piece. He's, you know, he's perceived as a man's man. You know, he's, you know, when people say political correctness has gone mad, you know, it's just that's Jeremy Clarkson. Now, you know, did what he wrote, for example, is fucking awful, and what he thought about it. And even though it is for the scene from Game of Thrones, I knew it. So as soon as I read it, I knew it, but he didn't reference it. Don't know what the fuck he was thinking, commenting that about a woman, you know, especially a woman of color, especially around this time. It's fucking naive. Now, you know, should there be some recrimination? Yeah. You know, should he be fired? I don't know. I think, you know, should the bloke's whole career be blown up? I don't know. I think he's apologized. He owned it. And I think that's all you can do, because if you apologize and you own it and you publicly do, you know, and, you know, say something and apologize twice and double down, I don't know what there is more you can do, because if sorry means nothing, then what's the point of apologizing? Like, I've had this argument with my wife lots of times. I said, listen, if you want me to apologize for something or say sorry, but you're still going to treat me as if I didn't say sorry, what's the point? Because I'm not going to apologize, because, you know, the part of the apology is the, you know, an admission of guilt, and for all of us to move on. Now, I would never wish anyone to lose their career. You know, I think the one thing I would say is that, you know, perhaps something like in his column, I'd go, look, maybe you need to have a break from that, because, you know, and reset some of your values and understand what's acceptable and what's not. But to remove him from the grand tour, you know, that's not connected to what he did. You know, if he doubled down, if he's like Kanye West, you know, which is someone who's in the throes of mental illness. And again, there's so much hypocrisy. I know we're going off, sorry, going on a tangent, but there's so much hypocrisy now that, you know, Jeremy Clarkson does this, Kanye West, you know, says that, doubles down. But you know, what's more terrifying about Kanye West? He's clearly mentally ill, like clearly mentally ill, and has been mentally ill for a really, really long time. And his documentary shows it. His friends have been talking about it. Virgil Abloh, you know, Abloh stepped away from him because he was mental, you know, and we're all just letting him carry on being mental, and we're writing about it, and people are slamming him. And it's like, if I walked into a room and I saw someone with a mental disability and I just started hammering them, I'd be you know, cancelled, right? So, but yet everyone's just watching him blow the world up and just not doing anything about it. So I just think I think now without seeing cast the first day, and I don't believe in God at all. I'm an atheist, but what I do believe is that principle is, you know, worry about your own fucking shit. You know, like Jeremy Clarkson has come out, publicly apologized. You know, I've not thought twice about it. You know, obviously Harry and Meghan, for them, it's something to be concerned about. You know, yes, that language around women and what you should do is not great, considering I think you'd have to check the stats, is that, you know, because of pornography and other things, there is a lot of increased sexual violence towards women and violence towards women. So, you know, it's not great precedent. You know, could he do more? Could he educate? Could he change the way he writes? Could he, you know, adopt a different thing? Would I take away his column? Yeah, probably, because I don't think he's maybe the right influence for society at the moment. Would I cancel him? No, but I just think everyone's so judgmental. It's like half the people writing about this stuff, it's just like, look, you know, if I dug deep into you, I think I'd probably find a few things. Worry about your own life. Like, how good are you? How good are you treating women? How do you speak to your partner? You know, how do you look after yourself? What are you doing for anti-race stuff? What are you doing for women's rights? What do you know? And everyone's so busy pointing the finger at someone else. And I guarantee if they all did better in all the areas I've listed, that would make a profound difference, opposed from sacking fucking Jeremy Clarkson from the Grand Tour and, you know, Wanky Farm, whatever it's called.
Right. And on the show, my co-host made a prediction many, many years ago that Gary Lineker, because he shouts so loud from the rooftops, would eventually, some sort of scandal would eventually come out around him. But man, I absolutely love that segment. I'd love to kind of move through the gears. One of the things, obviously, about you, man, is you are a polymath. You had, you know, many caps for England rugby, 77, I think, best-selling author, a DJ. You signed up to fight in Bellator in the MMA. You were obviously on I'm a Celebrity, even a barista, as you mentioned in the book. You've done so many things across so many different disciplines. What would you say it is about you, whether that's a habit or a mindset, perhaps, that has allowed you to do those at a high level across many different disciplines?
I think, look, first of all, it's a lot of lessons I learned early on from my rugby career is that, you know, no one's coming to save you. No one's coming to give you the career you want. You don't, you know, we're led to believe now you deserve lots of things and you can achieve everything. You don't, and you can't. I think you have to, you know, understand that it's a constant battle to work. You've got to hustle like you wouldn't believe. You know, you've got to put the work in and be prepared to suffer, but work smart. Like, you know, work out what you want to do early on. Look at how you're going to go and do it. Break it down into manageable chunks and make yourself accountable. So for the DJ, and I'll give you an example. You know, it was all I wanted to do. I was, you know, fanning around, bought some equipment, didn't know how to do it. You know, worked with a few DJs, couldn't get my head around it. Ended up going and doing a DJ course, paid, you know, went, you know, 3 times a week consistently to go and do it. Got a, you know, hustle to get a gig at the end of it. Got a gig at the end of it. You know, started reaching out to other DJs, started doing other courses online. Started, you know, recording my sets. You know, watching video wise, audio wise, watching them back, listening, watching other people, finding inspiration, dissecting what they did. Got myself a DJ agent, called the DJ out every day, going, look, I want a gig, this is what I want to do. And I just pursued it. And I kept saying to me, well, look, you're never going to make it. You're a Z-list celebrity, former DJ player. And I was like, okay, former rugby player. you need a radio show, you need a podcast. I was like, right, how do I do that? Taught myself to, to edit a radio show, taught myself how to use Ableton, did a course on it, started recording my radio show. We get 60,000 listeners per month on it, across digital radio called Backrow Radio. And then they were like, oh, well, you need to make music now, because that's what Sirius do. So I did a tool room course, and I realized I was so limited for time. So I started working with producers, who would be able to put my ideas in place. And just keep doing it. And the same thing, I'm doing the same thing now, just finished 6 tracks, on to my DJ agent every day, working with different people. And if I sit ever and I'm like, oh God, my DJ career is not where I want it to be, like, oh, woe is me, this is shit, maybe I'll give up. If I ask myself, am I practicing enough? Am I hustling enough? Am I looking for feedback enough? Am I reaching out to people enough? If the answer to any one of those is no, then it's my fucking fault. So stop moaning, shut the fuck up and get on with it. And I'll go back and do it again. And because I know I've got a process for each one of those things, and it's even easier when you do a DJ set. So I'd say do a DJ set and it doesn't go well. And I go, oh shit, I'm crap at DJing. I hate this. Like, it's awful. I can't do it. I then go, did I practice in the week? No. Did I prepare my tunes enough? No. Am I getting extra help? No. Have I practiced with another DJ? No. Am I, was I calm enough? No. Was I drunk? Was I too drunk? Whatever. If again, the answer to them is any one of them I can control and it's wrong, it's your fault. So go back and fix it and go and do it. But everyone wants to point fingers now and go, oh, it's the universe, it's everyone else, it's my parents, or, something tragic happened to me and I just can't do it. It's like, no, it's your fucking fault. And do you know what? That's why I know mental health is not simple as just saying cheer up. But equally, the thing with mental health is, which really frustrates me, is they go and do, say you've got anxiety or whatever, and you sit there and you can't deal with anxiety. You need help. Because if you could fix it, you'd already fixed it. And what you understand is that human state goes from one positive, negative all the time. And it's very natural. So if you can't fix yourself, go and get help. And when you get help, you're going to have a session and the person's going to make you feel better, right? You walk out, you feel better. And that better, like, motivation lasts for a couple of hours, a couple of days. And then ultimately you still feel like, you come back to feeling shit. You have to work on the stuff they give you every day. Every day. Mental health is, reframing stuff, is, dealing with your problems. Your problems aren't going to go away, because your parents died when you were younger and they gave them, money, your mum was a crack addict, or you injured yourself in rugby. You can't do it. It's never going to change. So what is it you do to manage that? And it's revisiting it every day. And the thing is, you're still going to have bad days. You're still going to feel anxious. You're still going to feel shit. But the thing with mental health is how quickly you get back on track after those moments. So, if you do nothing, take weeks, never be addressed. If you do something once, you might learn something, might take you a couple of days. If you do something every day, it could be a matter of hours and minutes. So if I come off a DJ gig shit, people criticize me online, I feel crap, this is awful. And so I'm still very hard on myself. I still have self-doubts all the time. I'm riddled with insecurities around performance, and I'm pretty unfulfilled with all the things I've done. But then I look back at it and I readdress it, and within minutes, I'm back onto it, got a plan, know exactly what to do, positive, and crack on.
One of the things that you mentioned, obviously in the book, you come up with 5 pillars. But that's what I'm kind of getting from there, is that you were willing to look nakedly at your own performance and be perhaps your own toughest critic. And that is perhaps one of the things that will drive you to higher performance. Does that sound right? It
is, but yes, 100% you are right. But I think sometimes you're tough, as a critic, you're clouded by your own mental health issues or your whatever, and you can be very harsh. So I think you have to be accountable. I think once you understand how to be accountable in a positive way, i.e., like I said, reviewing your performance, looking at the process and the elements that make up your performance, and if one of them is missing, then you know why you made a mistake. There's nothing worse in life not knowing why something went wrong. If something's a freak, but there's more often than not, there'll be a reason why something didn't go wrong. And you can put a process behind anything. You can put a process behind podcasting, public speaking, even in a relationship, you can put a process. If your partner, you drive your partner mad and an argument explodes, but the way to manage it, and you've done some couples therapy and you know how to get out of it, but you don't put that part into that process. And then you look back and go, why did it all fall apart? Because you didn't fucking, do the one bit you're supposed to do. And so I do take extreme ownership, but actually I think it's really important to reach out to people doing what you want to do better than you, and also getting feedback from people that are going to give you an objective opinion. So, you know, my dad was, if I asked my mum how I played in every game, she'd tell me that I was the best ever. My mum's always love you, and my mum doesn't really know what's going on. My dad was really, really harsh. You know, would only focus on the negatives. So, you know, and that wouldn't help me feel better. So what I would do is I'd find coaches that were able to communicate with me in a right way and go, look, this and this wasn't good. This was really good. This is how to go and fix the bad things. Come with me and let's work on it, which for me is my recipe for success. But I knew that. I learned how I wanted to do that. Some people need to be told, you're shit house, and they'll just go away and do it themselves. Some people need to be told, you're absolutely brilliant, nothing's wrong. And then the coach has to find a way of going, well, by the way, you could probably do that, you know, slightly differently. If you try to do it differently, and teach him. And so that's important. But you'll find people in your life that will give you that. You'll find, you know, I will send clips to DJ sets to a guy that's way better at DJing than me and ask him, what do I need to do? And he's a mate, and you know, try to be nice. And no, be harsh, because you're not helping him not be harsh. He goes, okay, I think you need to do this. Let me show you how to do it. And that's how I do it. And that's the same about public speaking. I'll record my speeches, or I'll go to the organizer and I'll be like, look, you know, what did you think? Or my co-host Alex Payne, what did you think? And he'll be like, I did really well. I was like, come on, I'll tell me. He goes, yeah, look, I think probably, you know, maybe swore a little bit too much here, or, you know, that story probably doesn't work. Think about it. And I'll go away. And then I've got some real tangible feedback, which is important, because we all need feedback, you know.
For me, obviously, as a man, when I was going through kind of the last chapter in the book, it was interesting how a lot of the stuff that you talked in there were kind of stuff that me, a guy, obviously in my mid-20s, saw just in my own life, my own friend group. But I'd love to ask you, why do you think perhaps in this day and age men are really suffering? Why are men suffering so bad?
Look, you know, this is a difficult topic because, you know, one false move and you sound like Andrew Tate. And I think, you know, which again, you know, with everybody, you know, there's always something that you will find within any person that is true and correct. And now I haven't looked, I don't follow him, but I know a lot of his principles. You know, I think it's, you know, for a long time, you know, things were unbalanced and always been through history, you know, that with women, for example, they only got the vote in, I think, is it 1918 or something, 1912. It's like ridiculous, right? That we felt like we were superior. I think that men now are particularly lost because of, you know, expectations on people. I think social media has made it way worse. I think, but you know, body image is, for example, massively important because social media is such a visual medium. You know, you want to be successful, you want to have the right car, you know, you want to do whatever it might be, and I think that puts a lot of pressure on people. I think, you know, men are much more practical but very less emotional. Women are much more emotional. They don't have a lot of practicalities, and I think we're very different than women. And I think we're taught a lot of the time that we should be quite the same. We're not. We're distinctively not, and I think that's why relationships fail, because people don't appreciate that a woman needs to be managed in this way with emotion, and a man needs to be managed in this way. Yet we're never taught about that, and we're just taught that you should just get on and everything will be fine. I think that makes life very difficult. That we're also, I think, consistently told that, you know, things that we believed in, being a man and you know, and sort of being that hunter-gatherer mentality and kind of being strong and dominant and chivalrous and, you know, physical, is not often not really, people aren't that keen to have that kind of thing. They want all the chivalrous parts, but then they don't want you to be like you are. And you sort of think guys are quite lost. And I think there's a lot of false idols out there and people kind of giving you the wrong impression. And I think, you know, with something like Andrew Tate, you know, where he loses me is he says women are possessions and everything else like that. It's like, fucking mate, you just lost the plot. Like, I understand what you're trying to say, and I think I've got no problem being a dominant alpha male who holds doors for women, who speaks his mind, who, you know, loves cars, loves the piss, loves a cigar, you know, fucking, you know, will make rude jokes, you know, is a bit of Neanderthal. That's me. You know, when you say toxic masculinity, I am a man. I'm a masculine man. That's what I do. I lift heavy shit. I carry shit. I swear. You know, I love women. I objectify women. You know, not intentionally, but I'm fucking. You know, we're genetically programmed to do that. You know, I'm married. I've got a family. You know, That's me, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not anything that, am I comfortable with people's sexuality? Yeah. Do I want everyone else to have the best journey? Yeah. I don't have any hang-ups with that stuff, but that's just me. And I think we're sort of trying to dumb a lot of that down. And I think we don't communicate very well. I think there's a real macho thing that's going on, which is, very difficult. And I think as well, social media, camera phones, people, recording stuff. So everyone's always worried about kind of acting up and always having to adopt this persona. And I think a lot of people are lost because, we've gone away from playing sport a lot. We've gone away from being active and physical. We've gone away from people wanting to have physical careers. We're meant to do shit like that. So I think people are lost, bored, confused, and they don't speak up about their problems. And I think it's, not getting help and not working in mental health is far weaker than whatever by doing it. Because if I said I've got mental health problems and I go and fix it, that's fine. Not speaking up is way weaker than me doing what I'm doing. You're not fucking cool. You're not clever. You're not smarter. You just shoot yourself in the foot. And I think men need to take ownership of themselves again and just understand that, however you're going through and suffering, only you're going to fix this problem. And even when you go to therapy, only you fix you. Yeah. And I think for me, that's a really important message. And I just think, I don't think we should shy away from being men. I think if you've got problems and you're feeling insecure, feeling upset, embarrassed, just fucking go and work on it. You don't have to shout it from the rooftops. You don't have to cry on Instagram. Just go and get help. And there is help all over the place. And I think it's just a very confusing time for a lot of people. And I also do think, though, a lot of this stuff is much more hyped up than you would believe, because the Andrew Tates of this world are very sensationalist. The very strong feminist view that men are toxic is very loud. Is it actually impacting us? Well, if you read the newspapers, you'd think it was. I've never had a problem with any of that. No. Because if I went online and spoke to social media, I'd find it. Nobody said shit to me in person. I've spoken at dinners and women have complained that, we're misogynist. And I was like, listen, it's a joke. I play on a stereotype. It's clearly a joke. I'm paid to be here. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Don't worry about it. You're not going to change me because I don't go around treating women like that. It's a joke on a stage, And I think you've got to be very careful not to buy into all this shit. And I'll give you one example, sorry, to finish is, I saw online the other day that there's a newspaper article about people wanting human rights for bugs. You can't kill bugs, right? So you hear that and everyone goes, the world's gone fucking mad. Wokeness has gone mad. This is awful. These fucking people, right? Nobody is trying to get bugs human rights. And if they are, who cares? Because it's never going to happen, right? But if you read the Daily Mail, if you read the articles, if you listen to your friends, this is a big thing, right? If you unfollow Andrew Tate and don't read the paper, you're never going to hear about Andrew Tate again. If you feminist and all this, someone called me a cis man the other day. I was like, no, I just, whatever. Look, I support all of you, crack on, but I'm not another version of a man. I've always just been the man part. If you want to call me like an ally, I'm like a supporter, it's fine. But I'm not any of that. I'm just that. We don't redefine what science has said. You can, be everything you want, whatever you're comfortable with, and I will always accommodate you. If you said to me, I want to be called a different pronoun, of course I'll do that. But you got to inform me, because I don't walk around thinking about it, and that's what. And I just think as long as people have the attitude to be accommodating, not to be attacked, not to try to label things as and to change. Also, change is important, but not trying to just get bogged down with all this stuff. I think for me that's really important. And I actually think men just need to realize that half these problems aren't a real problem. I don't really think a lot of it is. Just get on with yourself, worry about yourself, get off the fucking phone, get off the papers. And if and just understand, treat people how you want to be treated, be nice, and just get on with it. Because I just haven't had it. And I might be wrong. But I live in London and I go in the media. So you're bound to see things. I don't work in the fashion industry, but I just don't have any of this drama. I don't feel like I'm repressed. I don't feel like I need to march and take over the world. I just think about being better myself. What do I want to do? How do I want to do it? Don't judge anyone, get on with it.
Tell these guys where they can connect with you, where they can get the book, any closing messages.
So if you want to find a book, it's called Approach Without Caution, 5 Pillars, the 5-Step Guide Take Control of Your Life. It's available at Amazon, WH Smith's, Waterstones. There's an audiobook on Audible. You can hit me up at Instagram at James Haskell. I've got all my links there for my radio show, Back Row Radio. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on TikTok. I'm a media whore. I'm everywhere. Yeah, give me a follow. Let me know what you thought.
Man, I love that. Everything discussed today will be linked below, so for everyone listening, can just swipe up on the episode, grab a copy of James' book. And man, let me pay my gratitude to you for coming on the show and for sharing your lessons. I really enjoyed it, and also for writing a fearless book, one which I think is very much needed at the moment. So man, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, my friend. Look after yourself. Thanks for having me on.